Okay, so we talked a little bit about the transparency and communication with your suppliers and doing it, and when you're putting together the programs. But what about with your HCPs for those programs? A lot of times I don't know how many of you guys are facing the issues with communicating what's expense, what you can expense or not expense with the HCPs. I was talking to somebody from Abbott last night, and they were saying that they have a 3-page document now when their HCPs register for a program that they have them complete up front before the doctor actually, during the RSVP process. In order for you to RSVP, you complete this document that has what is expensible, what you can't do, and what you can do, which I think is a great idea. And I think that sets it up for success when you can communicate up front and they clearly know what to expect versus you getting an expense report at the end for, a family member to come and have their costs covered, or for first class air travel, which some of these HCPs still think that's okay. So you can actually control those costs more, which leads to you being able to control your budget more if you are more transparent about this up front. I also want to just throw in here is appropriate and professional communication. I find with the younger generation predominantly, but there's a lot of us that use technology and text messaging and emails to communicate stuff that would be better served by picking up the telephone and doing a phone call. Probably even better served face-to-face, but that's not always feasible. And that's especially important when you're trying to communicate something that's challenging or that is negative news that could be misrepresented in a text or an email. So leads us into the vendor relationship and management. Whether you realize it or not, relationships are the fuel that feeds all of our businesses. If you have a successful business, you need to be really good at building relationships on both sides of it. So it's really important that these relationships are founded on transparency and open, honest communication. You're going to hear a theme throughout this for us. One of the things is open and direct communication, ensuring you get everything in writing, and again, clarity of your objectives and deliverables, and having accountability for those. And then you want to be able to make sure that you guys are over communicating. I always say it's better to say something twice than just say it once. I'd rather make sure you guys are getting the point and make sure that something that's really important is delivered and that it's the way it was intended to be delivered than to not say it at all or have the possibility of it not being received. You want to be real, proactive, and honest in your communications. And again, face-to-face interaction is really, really important. And making a personal connection is also really important because people buy from people that they trust, and having transparency in your communication, being open and direct, helps build that trust as well. We're going to lead into some innovative meeting technology, and I'm going to turn this over to Ryan.
Thanks. Okay, so how do we do it? How do we maintain compliance as we're doing with technology? Okay, that's going to be one of the main themes we're going to talk about, but I'm going to bring it all the way back. In our discussions, we over-communicated on this presentation, so that's why we're both on the same page and how we're going to get to what we need to talk about. But meeting technologies in general, just so we're all on the same page. Audio visual, right? This screen right here this is a meeting technology. This thing we're using right here is not a meeting technology. The microphones we're using. All of this stuff needs to really start to be accounted for when you're talking about what am I going to be doing, how am I going to be pre-planning, how am I going to start with the end in mind. Audience response systems are going to be a polling. Any type of where you're gauging the audience for information is going to be included. Webcasting, where we're streaming out to all of the to sites, or enduring, where we're capturing that for use later on. Engagement platforms, that's what these iPads are. There's virtual reality coming. I got a slide later on about that. That's going to be interesting. Augmented reality, simulation, case-based simulation in a live meeting is really neat. That's going to be coming up. And then the one we're all really, really getting familiar with in 2017 are meeting apps and event apps, which include beacon technologies. Have you guys been to a meeting where they have those things you wear and you walk around and it tracks where you're going? I'm going to have a kind of a theme with my talk on technology because I really believe that to get where we need to get, we better be getting something out of it. So I'm going to ask you a question. This is just kind of frame it. Speaking specifically about meeting and event apps. How many meeting and event apps do you think right now are available? And they've only been out for a few years. So right now, how many do you think are available? I'll let you go ahead and answer that. All right, that's probably good enough. So the correct answer, it's actually over 15,000. There's a guy out there, his name's Corbin Ball, if you actually want to look him up, write it down. Corbin Ball is a very good speaker. He you know, if you're into technology, you understand that's the guy you want to follow, but he is tracking 15,000 of these things. So if we start thinking about, PSAV and MPI 2 years ago put out a study. It was a joint study looking at going to meeting planners and looking at how they are utilizing meeting technologies. So over 60% of those polled in that study, and I don't have the slide, I'm sorry, but said that their meeting budgets were increasing to accommodate meeting technologies. However, less than 40% actually consider themselves proficient in selecting. And then you're going to go back and you're going to look at 15,000 technologies. You're just going to Google it, I guess, at some point. And you're going to find event apps. You're going to find lead retrieval apps, networking apps, meeting engagement apps, scheduling apps. We talked about those little beacons that are walking around. So there's a lot that needs to be vetted. There's a lot that needs to be looked at when we're doing this. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the talk, and we're going to start with the begin with the start in mind. You know what I'm trying to say. Begin with in the end. Begin with the end. Sorry. All right. So let's break it down. So we're going to talk about an investigator meeting, right? Investigator meetings, they are going to be a transfer of information. So what do I need to do? I need to pick a technology that is going to enhance that position. The speaker training is a training environment, so maybe we need to track the training that's happening to ensure that these people are leading training. Or an AdWords or a straight data collection function. So this is how we do it. We start to consider these. So we're going to start with our end in mind, and we're going to say, okay, we're going to deal with investigator meetings. So what I need to do now is I need to look and consider these technologies, one of these 15,000 if we're going to do that. Reliability. So we're going to choose from proven partners with documented success rates. I can tell you on the vendor side that if you want references, ask for them. I mean, you're not going to hurt anybody's feelings, and they will get them for you. And if they have a long time waiting to get you those references, well, then that says something. So make sure you ask for those, especially if you're going to enter into something new, especially if you're going to deal with it in a live meeting setting like that you have to maintain those compliance concerns that you already have. Those compliance concerns could be even based on policy of the company. It could be based on a lot of factors. So if you get them with specific experience in where you're doing your meeting, then that's going to really help along the process. Proactive planning on infrastructure. What are we trying to accomplish here? Do we have, if we're going to be webcasting this thing, are we anticipating the Wi-Fi? Are we anticipating the internet, the ups and the downs? You can actually go to them and say and get that written down, your upload speed and your download speed, which is going to affect your stream. Because if it's choppy on the other end, you're going to be running into issues. So that's definitely something you're going to want to make sure. Services required. Now, they're audiovisual, streaming, and video. Just say we're doing a webcast, and we're doing that. And I've got a webcast provider, I got an AV provider, we got a meeting app going on. That's a lot of working parts there that might get convoluted at some point. Where does everyone have the same information? It's a good tip is to find a provider that might be able to provide more than one of those services, if not all of them, because you have one point of contact and you have a seamless integration of technologies into the program. So that is really a good tip, I think, that you should be looking forward to. But analytics, this is where it's all going. So any type of technology that you're going to interact with, or you're going to have your attendees interact with, whether it be a webcast, whether it be a meeting app or an engagement technology, you need to get something out of it. I cannot stress that enough. It is not worth it just having it there just to have it. So that kind of leads me into my next slide, which is, this is how we are doing it. Now, typically, this is just an example of what you can actually capture. You can capture how many times people are going on your website, or how many times people are viewing your web stream, or how many times people are interacting, or even if they stayed. If they stayed, did they stay for the whole time, or did they leave early? That says something. We do webinars, and we're actually looking at that as well, and I can tell when somebody comes onto a webinar that we even host, and they leave after 10 minutes. Well, that already gives me a nice insight into maybe this wasn't for them, maybe it was under a different idea that they were expecting from that webcast, or they stayed the whole time, maybe they were really engaged. You should really be collecting that information and capturing as much information as you can if you're going to be using these technologies. Oops, sorry. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, most popular, thank you. The most popular analytics that people are collecting, from my point of view, from what I'm seeing, attendee information, logging in, capturing that attendee information, polling responses, and engagement. So back to the webcasting, how long did they stay? That's really what my clients, the top 3 things that people are looking for overall. So if you're going to apply that to what you're looking at with technology, then I would recommend that as well. But please don't do it, don't just rush into it. I mean, be proactive. You're a very serious group of individuals. Take that same time when it comes to your technology. Okay? One of the common pitfalls that I see all the time is they're just rushing into it. The meeting next door has got something going on. We need to do that as well. So just go get me something. I don't care what it is. But budgets are not inclusive of that thought. So now what are you doing? So you're rushing to a technology. You haven't set a budget for it, and now you're looking for something that is, pretty cheap, I guess, because that's going to fit. It's not going to fall into the budgets that you've already set up. So that is you have to anticipate that, because that's going to give you an ability, if you're going through the plan that we were talking about, tailoring the process and applying that, moving at the beginning, then you're not going to find yourself into a trouble spot. Confirm your expectations. So I can't tell you how many requests I get with my iPads to do something that is not meant to do. And maybe it's because somebody had an idea about it in one of the meetings we were talking about, the lead up. I could say yes, yeah, we could do it and hope that it works when we get on site, but that is not responsible. I would be irresponsible even doing it. And I will tell you at that time, you know what, it's really not meant to do that. But if you're that person and that you just rushed into a technology you don't know anything about, you don't have any money for it, so you actually got one that's pretty cheap, and now you're going to ask it to do something that it doesn't normally do, I mean, you are setting yourself up. So confirm those expectations. This is what I need out of this technology. Can your technology do that? Once you do that, and they say yes, and they can prove that track record, going back to what we were saying before, then you're going to be in business, especially even if you have to find a lower cost one to fit in your budget. So make sure that is all part of your process, because that is really going to be important for that. But the flip side of that, bringing in these technologies now, what you're able to do is you're obviously already going to get increased response rates. I didn't see the final number of the questions that were asked in the general session this morning, but those lists are huge, because we're giving them an ability to interact. I mean, you guys can, if you want to, you can ask me a question right there on that thing right now, where you don't even have to stand up and say that. 500 questions this morning? I mean, that is actionable intelligence, if you think about that. And it doesn't need to be my iPads. It could be anything that you're doing. As long as you're planning to start collect that information, you're going to be already setting yourself up for success.